All right, so today we're diving deep right into the thick of the Renaissance.
Yeah.
And I think, like, everyone kind of has this idea of it being a rebirth, like, oh, the Renaissance, but
Right.
what does that actually mean? Like, what were they, dusting off and bringing back to life? What was going on there?
Mm-hmm.
We've got some super interesting excerpts, actually, from a text that really, like, gets into the nitty-gritty
Yeah.
of this whole era. So hopefully by the end of this deep dive,
Yeah.
we'll all have, a fresh perspective on it.
I like it. Well, one of the things about the Renaissance that I always find so fascinating is that it wasn't like,
Yeah.
boom, overnight revolution. It was this gradual kind of like unfolding
Yeah.
that happened over centuries, really, starting around the 14th century. It went
Yeah.
all the way to the 17th century.
Wow.
And, we tend to think about the Renaissance, we think Italy, right?
Yeah.
Especially like 15th, 16th century Italy.
Yeah.
But it really did impact all of Europe.
So it wasn't just a localized Italian thing.
Not at all. It was much broader.
Interesting. Okay. But you keep saying rebirth. Right. Rebirth. What exactly was being reborn during this time?
Well, it was really all about rediscovering and reinterpreting all this classical knowledge from ancient Greece and Rome.
Oh, okay.
Think of it this way. It's not like scholars and artists were trying to just like recreate the past.
Yeah.
They were taking inspiration from these ancient civilizations
Okay.
and then using it to fuel their own creativity and innovation.
So building on the foundations that had already been laid to make something totally new?
Exactly, yeah.
Cool. So our source actually lists a bunch of different factors, though, that kind of came together to spark this whole transformation.
Right.
Can you break those down for us a little bit?
Yeah, totally. I mean, one of the probably the biggest ingredient in all this was money.
Okay.
The rise of all these powerful merchant families, like, for example,
The Medici.
the Medici, exactly, in Florence.
Yeah.
And they had this huge influx of wealth
Yeah.
that they started pouring into the arts.
But were they just kind of like showing off, or was it more than that?
It was way more than that. Take
Mhm.
the Medici family, for example. They weren't funding just vanity projects, right?
Yeah.
They were commissioning like these groundbreaking works from artists like Michelangelo, Donatello,
Yeah.
seriously shaping the artistic landscape, not just in Florence,
Right.
but beyond.
So it's like they used their wealth to actually nurture real talent
Exactly.
and innovation.
Exactly. And it wasn't just about, creating beautiful art. Another super important element of this whole thing was the rise of humanism.
Okay. Humanism. So, I mean, that sounds kind of self-explanatory, but
You're right.
I feel like it's probably more complicated than just, being a good person.
It's definitely more nuanced than that.
Okay.
Renaissance humanism was this big shift away from focusing only on religious doctrines
Okay.
and more towards celebrating human potential and human achievement.
I like that.
So you've got thinkers like Erasmus. You know Erasmus.
Yeah.
Big on education, critical thinking.
Mhm.
And then you got Machiavelli, famous for his analysis of political power.
Okay.
Both of them embodying this humanist spirit.
Yeah.
They really emphasized things like reason, observation, classical learning
Right.
as ways to gain knowledge.
So basically expanding your horizons beyond just the religious texts.
Exactly.
Okay.
And right as all these new ideas are bubbling up,
Yeah.
Gutenberg comes along and develops his printing press around 1440.
Talk about a game changer.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, for centuries, knowledge was pretty much stuck inside monasteries and universities.
Yeah.
It wasn't accessible.
Yeah.
But Gutenberg's invention totally democratized information.
Right.
Suddenly, books can be produced way more efficiently and affordably.
Yeah.
And that meant more people could learn to read.
Hmm.
Literacy rates just
Shock.
exploded.
Yeah.
Ideas were able to spread like wildfire.
Yeah.
It revolutionized how people learned and shared information.
It's like the original internet almost.
In a way, yeah, totally.
Okay. So we all know the Renaissance for its stunning art.
Right,
Like that's the first thing you think of usually.
right.
But our source says that it was also a time of major social and political change.
It definitely was.
It's like what? Give me an example.
For example, feudalism.
Hmm?
That rigid social system that had been around for centuries in Europe.
Yeah.
It finally started to crumble during the Renaissance.
Okay, so less about painting pretty pictures and more about actually changing the world.
Yeah.
But why? What were the driving forces there?
Well, a lot of things. The Black Death, as awful as it was, actually played a part.
Really?
Yeah, because it created this huge labor shortage.
Oh,
which actually gave peasants more leverage
wow.
to demand better treatment and wages. And then you've got cities growing, trade expanding,
Yeah.
which led to the rise of a new and powerful merchant class, further disrupting the old order. People just started demanding more agency in their lives.
I like that. So, okay. But this whole new world thing, right?
Right.
It wasn't all sunshine and roses, was it?
That's the thing.
Like, our source mentions the age of exploration.
Yeah.
And that definitely wasn't a walk in the park for everyone involved.
No, not at all. It's true that this Renaissance thirst for knowledge and expansion led to all these like incredible voyages of discovery.
Right.
But it also led to colonization and the exploitation of countless cultures.
Yeah.
So expanding European horizons, yeah, but at a huge human cost.
Very complicated legacy.
Definitely a complicated legacy.
So, with all of that said then, how did this, like, relatively short period, this rebirth, how did it echo through history
It's really amazing.
to shape the world we live in today?
You know, I think the Renaissance reminds us that just questioning the status quo
Yeah.
and being open to new ideas, even if they're rooted in the past,
Mm-hmm.
can completely transform things. That spirit of inquiry, the drive to explore, challenge conventions
Right.
that didn't just vanish at the end of the Renaissance.
Right.
It makes you wonder, what old ideas are out there,
Yeah.
just waiting to be rediscovered and reimagined to spark the next wave of change?
Ooh. That's something to think about.
Right.